Hi, it's Reggie. Welcome back to Moonlight and Moments. You might not even remember the moment you first said yes to yourself. Maybe it happened slowly, across a series of hard days and tired nights. Or maybe it was quick, one of those tiny forgettable choices that somehow meant everything. Maybe you were scrolling, eyes glazed over, heart heavy, just looking for something that didn't ask too much of you. And whether it was your first episode or your 20th, whether you pressed play in a moment of peace or pain, it mattered. Because the moment you chose to listen, you weren't just listening to me, you were listening to yourself. The part of you that said, I want to feel differently. I want to love myself better. I want to remember who I really am. This episode isn't a celebration of this podcast. It's a love letter to you, to your quiet courage, to your soft, steady growth, to your becoming, whether you saw it happening or not. Set everything else down and let this be your moment. Let this be a mirror. So take a breath and let's begin. You might not even remember the first small thing you did to begin again. It didn't come with fanfare, no fireworks, no sudden thunderclap of healing. No one gave you a certificate for your quiet courage, and no one really saw you, when you began the slow, unseen work of becoming. But you did begin. Maybe it started with a tired kind of ache, the feeling of being so many versions of yourself that none of them felt like home. Or maybe you just woke up one day and thought, I can't do it like this anymore. You didn't know what it meant. You just knew you wanted to feel different, softer, safer, more whole. So maybe you changed one tiny thing. Maybe you started pausing before you said yes to everything. Maybe you cried in a car and didn't try to stop it this time. Maybe you said no and meant it. Maybe you laid in bed at 2 a.m., phone glowing in your hand, heart a little heavier than usual. And then maybe you saw me, again on your feed, talking about the self-love podcast I started because I spent way too much time on my phone before bed. I was probably sitting in my car or whispering into a mic, saying something soft and dramatic like, you are not broken, you are blooming. And you, maybe half curious, maybe a little skeptical, finally said, okay, fine, I'll listen. Maybe you pressed play while brushing your teeth. Maybe you were crying. Maybe you didn't even finish the episode. But in that small, nearly forgettable moment, you said yes. Yes to something new. Yes to something gentle. Yes to yourself. And that counted. Because what no one tells you is that healing rarely looks like a breakthrough. It looks like trying, then forgetting, then remembering again. It looks like listening to soft things when your inner world feels too loud. It looks like walking through your days with invisible weight and still getting up anyway. You've been doing that. You have. Even on the days when you felt like you were going backwards. Even when you fell back into old patterns. Even when your heart felt like a revolving door of trying, unraveling, and trying again. You've still been growing. You've still been becoming. And I've seen it, even when you haven't. Because every time you came back to yourself, that was growth. Every time you chose rest instead of punishment, that was growth. Every time you allowed softness, let yourself feel something, forgave your own forgetting, that was growth too. You've shed so many old versions of yourself without ever holding a funeral. You've carried memories you didn't ask for, grief you didn't name, hope you were scared to admit. And still you are here, still listening, still becoming. That's not nothing, that's everything. So, this isn't a story about someone else. This one's about you. It's about the night you chose to hear your own heart again. It's about the version of you that reached for a lifeline, not in panic, but in longing. It's about all the ways you've grown without applause. And yes, maybe I showed up on your feed one too many times. Maybe you gave in just to get me to stop talking about feelings. But something in you was listening long before you pressed play. Something in you has always been listening. And maybe now, you're starting to hear it more clearly. That whisper inside that says, I want to love myself better. That feeling that says, maybe I'm worth the softness I keep giving to everyone else. That deep, slow truth that says, I've been growing this whole time. So this is me, looking right at you, not the creepy way, and saying, I see it, I see you, and I'm so proud of the quiet blooming you've done in the dark. You didn't miss your moment. You are the moment. There's a quiet kind of courage that never gets talked about. It's not the kind that announces itself. It doesn't win awards. It doesn't post about itself on Instagram. It doesn't even always know what it's doing. But it's real. It lives in the person who decides, without telling anyone, that they want to feel differently. It lives in the person who looks at their reflection one ordinary morning and thinks, I want to be kinder to you. And then they try. They don't always succeed. Some days they fall back into patterns that feel safer than healing. Some days they're angry that things take so long. Some days they scroll past every loving word because it feels too far away. But they come back. They try again and again. That's the kind of growth we're honoring here. Not the loud kind, not the picture perfect before and after kind. Not the kind where your life suddenly blooms into something worthy of a montage. But the soft, nearly invisible kind. The kind that starts in the dark. Growth that happens not in public, but in the deep privacy of your own heart. The kind of growth that whispers instead of roars. When you press play on this podcast, whether it was your first episode or your 20th, it wasn't just a casual scroll. Even if it looked like one. Even if it felt like one. Even if you were just tired and needed a voice softer than your own thoughts. It was a moment. A moment where something in you, the truest part of you, reached forward. Not toward me, but toward yourself. That's what we forget sometimes. We think choosing healing is about following someone else, but it's not. It's about listening to the version of you that's been whispering beneath all that noise. Please let me in. Let me be loved. That whisper has always been there. You just finally said yes to it. And that yes doesn't have to be loud. It can be the quietest thing in the world. It can sound like brushing your teeth while this podcast plays in the background. It can look like sitting in your parked car for 5 extra minutes before going inside. It can feel like nothing at all. Until one day, you realize you're different. Not fixed, not finished, just softer. Just a little more you. That's what this episode holds at its core. That the listener, you, have been in the process of growing, even when you felt still. Even when it looked like nothing was changing. Even when your days blurred together and healing felt like a word someone else deserved. You've been becoming. And the very fact that you're still listening, still showing up to hear something gentle, is proof that you haven't given up on yourself. That matters. That counts. Sometimes we wait for someone else to tell us we've grown, to validate it, to mark it with a moment, to say, I see you, I'm proud of you. But what if this is that moment? What if this voice, these words, are here to remind you of what you already know deep down? That your life has been unfolding, that your heart has been softening, that your self-love journey is not defined by how many steps forward you've taken, but by the fact that you're still on the path at all. So let me say it clearly. You have grown. You are growing, even now, even here, even if you don't have the language to name it yet. And the moment you chose softness, even one small moment, was the moment you began to return to yourself. You're not the same as you were, and you don't have to be anyone else yet either. You just have to keep loving the version of you who keeps reaching forward, even when she's tired, even when he's afraid, even when they're unsure. Because that version of you, the one who listened the first time and every time after, that version is the real you, the growing one, the gentle one, the true one. And no one can take that away. It's easy to miss your own becoming when it doesn't look like what the world tells you it should. Maybe you haven't quit your job, left the relationship, moved to the mountains, or started waking up at 5 a.m. to drink green juice and journal under moonlight. Maybe your healing hasn't come with any glitter. Maybe it looks like crying in the shower less often. Maybe it looks like unfollowing one person who made you feel like too much. Maybe it looks like not answering that text, or finally answering it, or pausing to think before deciding which. That counts. Because real growth, the kind you've likely experienced without even realizing, often goes unnoticed. Not just by the world, but by you. And if no one's told you this lately, you are allowed to feel proud of healing that no one clapped for. This episode is a mirror held up not to the version of you that arrived, but to the one who kept walking even when you couldn't see the road. That's the version of you that made the brave choices. The one who stayed up late with mind full of worry, but still got through the next day. The one who chose to listen to something gentle instead of pushing it all down. The one who stopped blaming yourself for how others treated you. The one who learned how to rest without guilt. The one who let go of a story you told yourself for years, even if just for a moment. So many of us move through our days thinking we haven't done enough. That if we don't have external proof, a big change, a new title, a romantic glow up, it must mean we're stuck. But that isn't the truth. Not even close. Because quiet growth is still growth. And the fact that you're here listening means something inside you has shifted. Let's name the real life things that get in the way of seeing that. Comparison. Seeing everyone else's highlights while your growth feels invisible. Perfectionism. Believing you have to be fully healed to be worthy of love or celebration. Pace. Thinking you should be further along by now. Silence. Not having anyone reflect your progress back to you. You're not alone in any of that. So many of us, especially those with tender hearts, get stuck believing we're behind when in reality, we're just becoming at our own pace, in our own time, in our own way. And sometimes we find something that meets us in the middle of the process. For some, moonlighted moments became that. Not a solution, not a fix, but a mirror, a soft space, a quiet yes. Maybe you didn't even know you pressed play for the first time. Maybe you just needed a break from your own thoughts. Maybe you were lonely. Maybe you were healing from something no one else knew about. And maybe, without realizing it, you began to grow right then. Because choosing to listen to something loving choosing to hear a voice that doesn't shame you, pressure you, or demand more from you, that is a choice to be on your own side. And you've made that choice, not just once, but over and over again. So here's what I want you to take from this. If you've ever set a boundary you used to be too scared to set, spoken to yourself more kindly even just once, allowed yourself to rest when the guilt crept in, returned to your inner world after ignoring it for too long, or if you've ever simply said, I want to love myself better, then you are growing. You are healing. You are not behind. Even when you fall into old patterns, even when you feel like you've forgotten everything, even when you feel like you're not doing enough, you are. The real life truth is that this journey, the one you're on, is full of non-linear moments, full of spirals and setbacks, and quiet triumphs that no one sees. But I see you, and more importantly, I hope you are starting to see you too. Because the version of you that decided to press play, even just to hear a softer voice than your inner critic, is worth honoring. And the version of you now, still listening, still softening, still showing up, they're worth celebrating. Not because they've done it perfectly, but because they haven't given up. If you've come this far, you already know something essential. You don't need to be fixed, you need to be met. Met with kindness, met with softness, met with the kind of love that doesn't rush in and demand change, but sits beside you and says, you are allowed to be tender here. So these aren't rules, they're offerings, small ways to gently nourish the growth that's already been happening inside you. 1. Thank your past self. Write them a note. It doesn't have to be long or eloquent. Just a few honest words like, I didn't realize what you were carrying back then. I see now how strong you were, even when you didn't feel strong at all. This simple act creates space between who you were and who you're becoming, not with judgment, but with reverence. 2. Create a growth altar, not a literal altar, unless that feels good to you, but a good collection of objects that represent your becoming. It could be a photo of yourself at a younger age, a dried flower from a walk you took when you needed air, a sticky note with something you once dared to believe about yourself, the journal you never finished, the necklace you only wear when you feel safe. These pieces remind you that you've been here, that your healing is real, that your life has not been still. It has been unfolding. 3. Mark your milestones, even the invisible ones. You don't need a party or celebrate your progress. You just need a moment of presence. Try saying out loud, I'm proud of myself for, and then finish the sentence even if it feels small. I'm proud of myself for not picking up that old wound again. I'm proud of myself for letting someone love me even when it scared me. I'm proud of myself for trying. These are quiet wins, and they matter more than you think. You've been growing this whole time, but sometimes growth needs to be witnessed to be believed. So let this be your mirror. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are right on time, and you're doing better than you know. Let's take a moment, wherever you are. Sitting, walking, curled up in bed. Just let yourself be still, even if only inside. You don't need to hold anything right now. No story, no pressure, no proving. Just be here. Take a breath in. A soft, easy one. Let it be enough, and now slowly breathe out. Again, breathe in and let go. Now imagine this. You are standing in a wide open field. The sky above you is painted with soft clouds, and the air smells like rain has just passed. You're not running. You're not hiding. You're not searching. You're just here in this moment. And before you, glowing gently in the golden light, stands every version of you that has ever tried. Not the perfect ones, not the ones who got everything right. The ones who tried again and again, even when it was hard. Even when no one saw them. There's the you who first whispered, "I want more than this." The you who cried quietly under the covers and still got up the next morning. The day you pressed play, heart aching, unsure of what they needed. The you who kept softening even when the world told you to harden. They're all here. They're looking at you. And they are so proud. Not because you've arrived, but because you kept coming home to yourself in every quiet moment you could. Breathe that in. You're not alone in your becoming. You never have been. Every version of you is cheering you on now. And in this space, this golden field, you get to say something back. Something simple. Something sacred. You can whisper, "Thank you," or "I'm sorry I judged you," or even just, "I see you now." Let it rise naturally like breath, and let it land. As the moment fades, as the field dissolves into the quiet of your surroundings again, feel your body. Now, feel your breath, feel your heart. Feel the version of you that is still growing, still unfolding, still listening. And remember this, you didn't have to do anything loud to matter. You didn't have to be fully healed to be worthy. You didn't have to bloom in public to be real. You've been growing this whole time, and you're allowed to be proud of that. Take one more soft breath in, and gently exhale. Carry this moment with you. It belongs to you now. You may not have noticed it day by day. There were no signs, no applause, no big cinematic transformation. But still, you've been growing. In quiet ways, in invisible ways. In the soft, patient moments where you chose not to give up on yourself. And if no one has told you lately, I'm proud of you. Not because you've arrived somewhere, but because you stayed. You stayed when it was uncomfortable. You stayed when you didn't feel ready. You stayed with yourself, gently, imperfectly, honestly. That's all this space has ever been about. Moonlight and Moments was never meant to be a guidebook or a fix. It was meant to be a mirror, a place to remember what you already know, that you are worthy of love, especially from yourself. So whether you found this podcast a month ago or you've been with me from the very beginning, thank you so much. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for trusting this quiet corner of the internet. Thank you for letting softness be part of your journey. Because your healing matters. Your growth matters. You matter. If this episode felt like it saw you, if it reminded you that your becoming has not gone unnoticed, then maybe pass the light along. Someone else out there might need it as much as you did. Follow Moonlight and Moments wherever you listen, and share it with someone who might need a little light today. Until next time, and as always, love yourself better than yesterday.
Didn't know what I was looking for. Just a voice that didn't ask for more. A tired heart and a restless scream. A quiet ache I couldn't name or clean. Then one night the world fell still and I heard a voice that made me feel like maybe soft could be enough. Like maybe healing starts with trust. And softly In the silence no one sees, not a rescue, not a cure, just a door I walk toward. No loud beginning, no clear end, just the courage to begin again. And softly I chose me when I pressed play and set me free. No gold stars, no finish line, just slow days and borrowed time. I didn't bloom for them to cheer, I bloomed when I let myself be near. Near to my fear, near to my truth, near to the parts I once outgrew. This podcast wasn't saving me, but it was the light I used to see. And softly I chose me. In the silence no one sees, not a fix, not something grand, just a moment I could understand. No loud becoming, no spotlight, just choosing love on a lonely night. And softly I chose me, one breath, one word, one heartbeat. I didn't need to change the world, just needed to come back to this girl or boy or soul, whoever I've been, and say you're still worth coming in. And softly I chose me, like a wave returning to the sea. Not perfect but finally true,